Hey folks, welcome back. So this week we're actually going to get started working in InDesign. I'm going to show you a few basic things about the Pages panel and how to add and remove pages, adjust things like layout and margins and columns and select things and deselect things. I'm going to show you a few shortcuts, just some basics to get us going in the program. All right. So this is the opening dialog that you get when you first open the program, where you can open a file that you already have or create a new one. So I'm going to create a new one. Now for this, I'm just going to show you the things that you're going to need to know to complete this week's assignment. I'm not going to show you how to do the assignment. I've given you instructions on Blackboard. I'm just going to show you the different things because I feel like that helps you kind of apply the knowledge and assimilate that into your brain a little bit better. So here's the new document dialog, where you can choose the number of pages in your document to start out with, the start page, whether or not there are facing pages, so like a spread or just single pages. You can choose default page sizes based on a lot of print sizes, legal, letter, all that kind of stuff. You can also choose custom sizes just by clicking up or down on these or typing in, highlighting and typing in something. Now, I have inches as my default unit of measurement. If you don't, we changed that last week, but if you don't have this, you can go to InDesign Preferences, or on a PC, I think you go to Edit Preferences, and then go to Units and Increments. You have to cancel out of this first. Units and Increments, and choose inches for vertical and horizontal measurements. All right. You can also add columns. The gutter is the space in between columns. You can add margins, or adjust your margins. They're usually 1/2 inch by default. And then bleed and slug are for printing. We'll show you that later. So I'm just going to leave it as default right now and click OK. And it's going to create my document. Now, if you remember from last week, we have our panels over here. We have our control panel at the top, our toolbar on the left, and then this is our document window with the actual document page and then the pasteboard on the sides. Now, our workspace should look something like this. Yours probably won't have the Pages panel open. It'll probably look more like this. If it doesn't, that's okay. You can just reset the Essentials workspace by coming up here to where it says Essentials. Click on that and come down here to Reset Essentials, and it's going to put it back the way it was when you first got the program. You can also go there by going to Window, Workspace, and you'll see the same things in this drop-down menu. Like I said, there's about 20 different ways to do everything. I'm going to try and show you at least a couple so you can sort of customize your workflow as you want to. All right, so we're going to look at the Pages panel this week. So come up here to where it says Pages and click on it. All right, you can also, if you don't see Pages over here, you can go to Window and down to Pages. All right, you'll notice that the ones that are checked are the ones that we can actually see, that are visible right now. Okay. So the Pages panel is basically a group of thumbnails showing you the pages that are actually in your document. Right now, we only have one page in our document, so you're only going to see one page right here. Now, we can add pages in several different ways. One way is by coming down here to the bottom of the Pages panel, and you'll see a little icon. If you hover over it, you'll see it says Create New Page. Click on that, it's going to create a page. All right. Click on it again, it's going to create another page. Now you'll notice that these two pages are in a spread and page 1 is by itself. That's how InDesign creates files anytime you start with page 1, because it assumes that you're going to have a cover page, that this is going to be a multi-page document, you're going to need a cover page by itself. Now if you don't want that, you can change that, and I'll show you how to do that later. But for now, that's fine. All right, so you add pages with this little guy, and you can delete pages by clicking on the trash can. All right, that's going to delete them. So add, delete. Now you can delete multiple pages at the same time. I'm going to show you how to select multiple pages. So I'm just going to click till we have a few pages here. Okay. You can delete one at a time. You can select pages by clicking on them. All right. Now if you double click, it's going to take you to that page in the document over here in the document window. Right now I'm just selecting them in the Pages panel. If I double click, it's going to take me to that page, all right, or that spread. And it's a little easier to see. Right now we have all blank pages, so you really can't see much of a difference. You can see it if you look over here, your vertical and horizontal scroll bars when I click somewhere, it takes me where I need to go. Okay, so to select multiple pages, you click on the first one and then you hold down Shift and click on the additional pages. Now that's going to allow you to select as many pages as you want contiguously, so in a row. All right, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, no problem. Now if I want to select just page 1 and 5, for example, or pages that aren't right next in order, to deselect, by the way, I'm just clicking on the gray area outside of the Pages panel, or outside of the little thumbnails. So if I wanted to select pages that are not continuous, let's say I want to select 1 and 5, I click on 1. If I hold down Shift and click on 5, it's going to select all the pages in between as well. However, if I deselect and I click on 1 and I hold down Command on a Mac or Control on a PC and then I click, it's going to allow me to select pages and not select these pages in the middle. All right, so those are just different ways to select pages. That's going to come in handy when you start applying things like if you want to change the margins on the columns on a bunch of different pages, you can select them all and do it at once rather than having to do each one individually. So that's real quick, basic, how you create, delete, and select pages. Now, there are other ways to create pages as well. For example, you can click on a page and hold down the Option key on a Mac or Alt on a PC, click and drag, and it's going to give you a page. All right, Option, click, hold down Option, click and drag, and it's going to add pages. All right, now I'm going to delete those. You can play around with that till you get comfortable with it. Another way that you can do it is by using master pages, or up here. You see where it says none and there's a page right next to it? That's just going to add a blank page. You can click on that and drag it down anywhere. If you want to add a page in between here, you can do that. You can click and drag it down and it'll add pages. In this case, it's going to add a whole spread to that document. Okay. Now, master pages are really useful. If you click right here on this little line in between, you can kind of adjust the space for each of these segments of the Pages panel. Master pages are really useful if you have repeating elements like footers or page numbers or headers, things that you want to show up on all pages. And when you have these, you can create as many as you want. Right now, you'll notice that these pages all say A. That's because this is based on a master. Now, we haven't done anything to these master pages, but whenever we deal with that, you can also create master pages by based on a preset pattern that you have, preset style, by dragging these down. All right, so don't worry about the master pages just yet. I just wanted to show you that they're there. We're going to come back to that in a couple weeks. All right, so I have a lot of pages here. I'm going to delete a few just to get to a little more manageable so you can see what's going on. Now, if I want to, let's say, for example, I don't want these to be in spreads. I want these to be all single page. That's easy enough. You don't have to have anything selected over here. You're going to go up to the File menu and down to Document Setup. Okay, File, Document Setup. You'll see this is the shortcut right here. Anytime you open one of these drop-down menus, you'll see these little shortcuts on the right. So those, as you get more familiar, learning these shortcuts can help you save some time in your workflow. They shouldn't get in the way. If they do, don't use them. I'm going to show you a few really useful shortcuts this week, and the rest, you can kind of learn them on your own as is necessary. So I'm going to go to the File menu, down to Document Setup, and this is sort of an abbreviated panel of what we dealt with when we first created our file, with a number of pages, start page, etc. I'm going to uncheck Facing Pages, and you'll see what happens right over here in my Pages panel. Now you're going to see that because I have Preview checked. If you didn't see anything happen, that's because you don't have Preview checked. So check that little preview box, and you'll see that it puts all of my pages in an order in a row instead of being in a spread. Okay, that's depending on what kind of document you're working on, that may be preferable, or you may want them in spreads if you're working on something where you want to see what two facing pages look like together. Now, so that's where you can adjust that. And because you're in Document Setup, any changes you make are going to be applied to the entire document. All right. Let's say you want to adjust the margins. Okay, right? By default, we have these 1/2-inch margins, and these pink and purple lines are just guides. They're not going to print. They're just for your reference, and you can turn them on and off by going to View, Grids and Guides, Hide Guides, and it'll turn them off. Then you can go to View, Grids and Guides, Show Guides. You'll notice the shortcut is Command semicolon or Control semicolon on a PC, I believe. So if you try that, Command semicolon, that'll toggle it on and off for your guides. Okay. Now, if you want to adjust the margins, for example, first you have to select which pages you want to apply that change to. If you just have one page selected, it's only going to apply the change to that page. So if you want to apply it to multiple pages, you have to make sure you select them. So for example, I'm going to select pages 1 and 2 here and go to Layout and Margins and Columns. That's where you go to adjust those. Okay, it's in the Layout menu down in Margins and Columns. And you'll see right here, and again, I have the preview box checked so I can see what's going on before I apply it. And I'm going to link these so it all applies at the same time. I can adjust my margins, and it's going to go in, I believe, 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. And I can adjust it to whatever I want to. And you'll notice it going right here. Now, if I want to adjust margins separately, I can uncheck this little link here, and then I can adjust just the top or just the left, and it leaves the other two alone. All right, so whenever I get it the way I want to, I can also add columns, which is going to go in between my margins. And again, these are just guides to kind of help you develop a grid system for whatever document you're working on. Anytime you're designing something that has multiple pages, you want to have sort of an underlying grid system so it's a logical composition that makes sense to the reader or the viewer or whatever. So anytime you look at a magazine, you'll notice that the footers are always in the same place. Certain page elements, the margins are consistent throughout, all that kind of stuff. So I click OK, and you'll notice that pages 1 and 2 have the margins and the columns changed, and page 3 does not, because I didn't have it selected, so it's going to stay the way that it was. All right, so that allows you to kind of create different grid systems for different pages, kind of customize it the way you need to. Now, that's a real good way to get a basic setup on your page, some guides to help you out. You can also create custom guides by dragging from the ruler. Okay, and what I mean by that is, first of all, if you don't see your rulers, you can turn those on and off in the view menu because it has to do with what you're seeing. So anytime it's about hiding or bringing something back, always look to the view menu. Okay, go to rulers, and you'll see the shortcut is Command R or Control R on a PC. And you'll see, so if you don't see them, you can hit Command R, toggle, and bring them on and off. All right. Once they're visible, you take your selection tool, which is selected by default, and you bring your cursor into the ruler area, and click and hold and drag down, and it's going to give you a guide. Okay. That's going to give you a horizontal guide. You can do the same thing for vertical guides by coming over here to the vertical ruler, click and drag out, and it'll give you some guides. Now again, these don't print. These are just for your reference as you want to line objects up on your page. You can hide them by hitting Command semicolon, bring them back, or view guides. And now you can move these around. You can also lock these if you don't want them to be movable. You go to View, Guides, Lock Guides, and then you can't move them anymore. Okay, and then if you want to, go back, uncheck it. Now you can move them around. Okay, so that's really useful to kind of help create an underlying structure for your document. Now, if you drag inside, I'm gonna create spreads just for a second to show you something. So I'll click on Facing Pages. Now, if I drag within this page, you're going to see that it creates a guide only on that page. However, if I drag outside of the page into the gray area, you're going to see that it creates a guide all the way across that spread. So sometimes I want guides to go all the way across, and if I do, that's one way to do it, okay, to help you line things up. All right, so that's guides. I showed you how to select multiple pages, how to add or remove pages, how to create margin and column adjustments, all that kind of stuff. The other thing I want to show you is how to change your page sizes. Now you can, if you want to change all of the page sizes in a document, you can again go to File, Document Setup, and it's going to give you this option where you can change the page size for all documents, or for all pages. But if you want to change just 1 or 2 pages, or a certain number of pages, or have multiple page sizes in one document, you can do that. And you're going to use what's called the page tool. It's the third tool down on the toolbar. See that right there. And so, for example, let's say if I want one to be page 1 to be a different page, or a different size, I'm sorry. I select page 1 in the Pages panel, and then I'm going to click on the Page tool. Now you'll see I can click around right here, and I'm going to zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. I can hold down Shift and select multiple pages. I can deselect by just clicking in the gray area. So if I want to change the size of page 1, I select it, and then I come up here to my control panel where I can adjust my page sizes, and I'm just going to click. You can click the up or down arrows, you can highlight it and type in a number, whatever you need, and you'll see when it changes, when you hit enter, how it changes that page. So now I have multiple page sizes in my document. So that comes in pretty handy if you have things like inserts for a magazine, or fold-out pages, or things like that. They can be kind of useful. So to save a document, you go to File, Save, or Save As, and you choose whatever you want to save it as. You can type the name right here, and then down here at the bottom, you don't have a whole lot of options. InDesign CC 2017 document is fine. Okay, a template, you don't want to use that. You can use that, but we're not going to deal with that right now. Down here, if you need to save this document so people working on an older version of the software can open it, this IDML is the way to go. Okay, so when I click on this, the actual file name, or the file type, is going to be .indd. That's an InDesign document. Okay, so like you have JPEGs and GIFs and all that sort of stuff. INDD is the suffix of the file that we're going to be saving. So that's how you would save a file. Now I want to show you, the last thing I want to show you are a few shortcuts. Now there are shortcuts all throughout InDesign, and as you get more familiar with it, you can use the ones that you find useful, or you can continue using the old-fashioned way. It really doesn't, it's not like it's going to save you a whole lot of time, but some people just find it a little easier. For example, you'll notice on the toolbar, every tool has a letter or some sort of combination of keys that you can use to choose it. So for example, you'll see the selection tool has V next to it. So if I have the type tool selected and I just hit the V key, it's automatically going to switch to my selection tool. So that's kind of useful. I'll be honest, I don't really use those very much. Okay, it doesn't take much effort to just come over here and click the tool that I want. Okay, now that said, there are some that I really like. For example, to navigate through my document, I like to zoom in and out, and I like to move around within my document. So there's a couple ways to do that. You'll see these bottom tools here, the zoom tool and the hand tool. I use these all the time, these features, but I never use these tools. What I mean is, for example, I can click on the zoom tool and click, and it's going to zoom in. If I hold down Option or Alt, it's going to zoom out. All right, that's fine, but I can also do it if I click back on my selection tool or any other tool by hitting Command plus or Command minus, or Control plus, Control minus on a PC. Control plus or Command plus, zoom in, Command minus zooms out. Okay, so that's a lot easier than having to come over here and click on my zoom tool every time. Now the other thing, the hand tool allows you to move within your document. Okay, it's basically just like grabbing that page and moving it around. So you can move within your document by using the horizontal and vertical scroll bars. If you have a rolly wheel on your mouse, you can do it that way. Or you can click on the hand tool, move around. However, I found it the quickest, easiest way to do it, regardless of what tool you have selected. For example, if I have my selection tool, I can't move anything around. But if I hold down the space bar, it changes whatever tool I have into the hand tool while I have the space bar pressed down. Okay? Then I let go, and it goes right back to the selection tool. Okay? So that's just a really useful tool. Space bar, just hold it down, and allows you to move within your document. So those are probably the most useful shortcuts that I know of. The only other one that is really important is undo. All right, and you're probably familiar with this. edit, undo, or redo, Command Z or Control Z. All right, that is very nice. In InDesign, I think you can undo like 50 different steps, so it gives you a lot of flexibility to experiment with things, and then if you mess up, you can just undo until you're back where you started. All right, so it's pretty nice. And then you can also redo the same number of steps. So Command Z or Control Z on PC is undo, and then Shift Command Z is redo. Okay, and you'll see those shortcuts right here. Command Z and Shift Command Z. This arrow pointing up is Shift. So that's how you navigate the Pages panel by creating and removing pages. You can adjust margins and columns, change page sizes, add custom guides, and then I showed you a few really useful shortcuts. All right, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to create a custom workspace, and then we'll talk about what your assignment's going to be.